This is a weekend of frustration and uncertainty in American politics as well, with Republicans who voted to repeal and replace Obamacare facing fiery town halls like this.
President Trump steadfastly stands by this new bill, but meanwhile, there's another story looming having to do with the investigations into possible connections between Team Trump and Russia.
ABC's David Wright is with the president in Bedminster, New Jersey this morning. Hi, David.
Hi, Paula. Hi, Dan. Republican lawmakers are now hearing loud and clear from constituents who don't like some of the provisions of that new GOP health care bill. At town hall meetings and in other forums, a lot of those constituents are saying they feel betrayed.
These are human beings. We have bodies, we have minds.
In upstate New York, Congressman Tom Reed reassured his constituents that people with pre-existing conditions needn't worry about the Republican bill.
The bill protects the pre-existing condition.
In fact, the bill rolls back the Affordable Care Act's protections for patients with pre-existing conditions. Health insurers would still have to cover them, but the bill includes a mechanism allowing insurance companies to raise rates on those patients, possibly even making their insurance unaffordable. In Idaho, Congressman Raúl Labrador pushed back at a constituent who told him without access to health care, people will die.
That line is so indefensible. Nobody dies because they don't have access to health care.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, Frelinghuysen's got to go.
Here in New Jersey, Congressman Rodney Frelinghuysen switched his vote from no to yes just last week.
I support looking after pre-existing conditions.
He was holding my letter in his hand, yes, when he said that.
Adina Renfro-Michel survived stage 4 breast cancer, now in remission thanks to these pills. So it's called Ibrance? Ibrance. They cost $11,000 a month, more than she earns. $500 a pill.
Yeah, but it's saving my life.
You feel like your congressman sold you out?
Yes, absolutely. I am furious.
Here in New Jersey, the president continues to be a little bit defensive about his decision to come to Bedminster, saying that the reason that he's staying here and not in New York City is that it would be much more expensive and disruptive to go there, meetings. But check out this picture. He's also taking some time to lower his handicap. Dan, Paula?
Yeah, and a lot of that's still on the taxpayer's dime. Okay, so a lot of angst and anxiety about the health care, but let's talk about something else. Congress has been exploring the impact of Russia on the election, and this week Sally Yates is set to testify. David, what can you tell us about that?
That's right. She is the former top Justice Department official. She was the acting attorney general at the beginning of the Trump administration. She is going to testify for the very first time tomorrow before a Senate committee, and she'll be talking about the warnings that she gave the administration about Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor, and his contacts with Russia. Also, of course, surveillance is going to be on the question list. Dan and Paula?
David Wright, thank you very much. Let's bring in our chief anchor, George Stephanopoulos, who's going to be hosting this week later this morning. Hey, so let's start with Sally Yates. How consequential do you expect this testimony to be?
Well, it's likely to be quite dramatic. I think we can say that for sure. This is the first time that most Americans are going to see her. They're going to hear the warning she gave directly to the White House about Michael Flynn. Whether that will change his ultimate story is hard to know. But remember this. Flynn is actually an official, even though he's left the administration, who's facing some legal jeopardy. He's trying to get immunity in order to testify. I think one of the issues there will be, what is his story? What will he say? Would that change if he indeed got immunity?
All right, so let's go back to health care. Democrats, of course, see this as a window of opportunity to take advantage of, even take back the House of Representatives. And you have exclusively Paul Ryan on the show this morning. Do you think he should be worried about this?
Well, that's one of the questions I'm going to ask him. You know, one of the things we saw, remember back in 2010, after the Democrats voted for Obamacare in 2009, they got wiped out in the 2010 midterm elections. They believe exactly the same thing is going to happen to Republicans this time around because they're taking away a benefit that a lot of people feel they already have. At least that's the argument the Democrats are going to make. You see a lot of energy on the Democratic side. I think the big question out there, 2018 is still a couple of years away. We don't know what's going to happen with the bill, whether it's even going to get through the Senate or not, how much change is going to happen inside the Senate, whether it will get to the president's desk. So there are a lot of unknowns out there, but Democrats are energized right now.
Let's talk about the elections in France happening right now. What kind of impact do you think we'll see, if any, from the outcome there?
One of the things we're already seeing is you saw that last-minute revelation on Friday night, just before the blackout in the French elections, that the Russians, it appears, also hacked the French election. So it corresponds to America right here. I think it depends on what happens. If Marine Le Pen defies the odds and actually wins, that could be a major change for the United States. We know that France wants to pull out of the EU, wants to pull back from NATO. That would be a major change. Macron would be a little bit more status quo, at least with the relationship with the United States. So if he wins, I wouldn't expect a huge, huge impact. If Marine Le Pen wins, earthquake.
Yeah.
Earthquake. George Stephanopoulos, thank you very much. And a reminder, George has a big show this morning, including that exclusive interview with House Speaker Paul Ryan, his first since the GOP health care bill passed. That's coming up later this morning on This Week, right here on ABC's. Thanks, George.
Yeah, looking forward to that interview with Paul Ryan. Thanks, George.